Greetings, beautiful beings. I hope you all are drinking water and taking care of yourself. It's me, Fatima. I hope that you are grounded in knowing that the world is so much lighter and brighter because each of you are in it. Hope that you are moving through a place of gratitude and knowing that all is well because all is well. And even though things may be crumbling and falling around you, I hope that you know that life can be hard sometimes. And also, there is joy, just like there is darkness, just like there's grief, there's pleasure. And I affirm that you're moving in ease and light as you experience what makes life pleasurable for you. Today, I would like to talk to you all about culturally mindful disaster relief response. So, to provide a little background, I've been in the disaster relief world since 2017 when I worked on Hurricane Harvey that hit in Houston, Beaumont, and the Port Arthur area of Texas. And it was one of the biggest storms since Hurricane Katrina. And when Hurricane Katrina hit, I was only 18 and a freshman in college. When Hurricane Harvey hit, I was 29 in law school. So it was a different experience for me. And I wanted to engage in this experience in a way that would center the people who were impacted in the hearts of their community. So a lot of times people go to the Red Cross and they think the Red Cross is doing great work, but the Red Cross is actually more harmful than anything. In 2017, I know, and after that, but specifically in 2017, we were sending resources to different shelters being turned away by Red Cross that they didn't have any food, they didn't have any water, but they didn't want our water and they didn't want our food. People had been in these spaces for more than 5 days without insulin, without beds, without showers, and we wanted to really shift what we were getting and the way they were getting it. And instead of people sleeping on cots, we did this push for beds instead of cots movement, where we fundraised over $2,500 to put people in Airbnbs, hotels, before Airbnb was actually aiding people who were impacted by disasters, and before hotels were really getting on it. So in 2017, we were before our time as me being an Aquarius and really wanting to go to communities that were oppressed systemically, poor communities, communities of global majority. I really wanted to make sure that communities and where people were too impoverished to leave got some of the best resources that we could provide, and from a way that aligned with cultural norms. So a lot of times people don't think about people's allergies, skin ailments, different hair textures. So people are given all of these things that don't align with people having allergies and people having different hair textures and people needing hyperallergenic soap and hyperallergenic skincare and products and food, right? People want to always provide some of the lower quality of food with red dye and preservatives and all these things that don't incite healing. And for me, when I got into disaster relief work, I genuinely believe that I'm not going to serve anybody anything that I wouldn't serve myself. So finding people with fresh food, having people cook for people, not just those impacted, but also volunteers, and really bringing things to communities, not just asking communities to come to them. So as storms are populating and there's flooding and there's more call for a community to step in, I invite you all to aid from a place of fullness as well, knowing that most people that are volunteering are impacted in some way, whether it's vicarious trauma or direct trauma, because it's not easy watching people lose everything and then having to build their everything back up, right? So really being mindful about volunteers and how you are engaging your volunteers, making sure that there's space for your volunteers to fill their cups, to decompress, to honor the vicarious trauma that they witness when helping other people, and also coming together collectively for a plan to aid people in the term. So a lot of times people think of disaster relief in this short term, right? And it's true, people need resources in the beginning, but they also are going to need resources in the midst of them, restoring their lives, and probably a good 6 months after. So what organizations are equipped to handle 6 months of care for a person and people? How can you volunteer in shifts? How do you make it work? And then also, how do you center your humanity and the humanity of those that are impacted? So when I think of being culturally mindful in disaster relief work, it's all about consent, asking people what they need, providing people with the basics, the food, the care, the clothes, but then joy, right? So every time I've done disaster relief work, I usually get a DJ or have some sort of band to bring joy into the midst of the storm. We can dance as we rebuild and as we restore, right? So wanting to make sure that when you all are doing disaster relief work, you're not just morbid about it, but that there's moments for breaks with the volunteer. So if volunteer shifts are 4 hours and giving people 15 minutes to 30-minute break, having volunteer spaces so that they can recoup and then even get resources if they need them. And then making sure that there's herbs, there's traditional medicines, and there's herbal medicines. And working with organizations like Herbalists Without Borders, Acupuncturists Without Borders. There's a lot of mutual aid organizations that are healers that have access to different information and resources that can be set up in your distribution site and are willing to go into communities to help them have proper herbs and have proper care. We have to really start thinking about who can we connect with, who's already doing the work, and stop recreating the wheel. There's a lot of people who have been doing disaster relief work that aren't funded on the level of Red Cross, but they're doing better work and less harmful work than the Red Cross. The Red Cross usually comes in communities with guns. They usually come into communities not really equipped to talk to people. They're not healing centered or what many of you may know as being trauma informed, and they end up causing more harm than good. So we have to really recognize that, yes, there's government agencies or big businesses that have been doing this work for generations, but it doesn't mean that that work is sustainable and culturally mindful and really honoring the people that are impacted the most and the worst. So as people are being impacted by natural disasters and man-made disasters, we as community members must be willing to ask community what they need, as well as provide them what they need. Because sometimes when people, a lot of times actually, when people are in the midst of storms, they don't know what they need and they can't really say it out loud, right? So it's being mindful enough to think about and consider what a person may need or what you may need in a situation where you've lost everything, and then making sure it aligns to that person's culture. So one of the things I always try to be mindful of is certain people can't eat pork, certain groups don't eat shellfish, certain groups don't engage in certain things, and really wanting to align with groups that are supported and respected by cultural groups and making sure they have the resources that they need. So if there's a group that is for the Asian population in your community, reach out to that group and see what resources they're handing out that aligns with what their community needs, and making sure that it's in their language and it provides their community with what will help them restore, because every community and collective is different, and bringing resources to the heart of those people is really what matters. I always like to invite people to set up distribution sites. These sites can collect resources, they can distribute resources if people come to that specific site, and also this site will allow people who are community members and organizers to collect resources and bring them into communities like the elderly communities or low income communities that do not have access to transportation, do not have access to coming to the distribution site to get what they need. There's so much more to this, but I wanted to provide a part one because I recognize that I take advantage of the fact that I've been doing this for a while. So when a storm comes up, I'm just like, oh, these are all the things that need to be in place. But everybody isn't really thinking from this perspective because it isn't everybody's lane. And some people are in disaster relief work lane, but they still aren't providing all of the human what the human needs, right? Humans also, yes, they need their basic needs met, but they're experiencing trauma and emotional discomfort and physical discomfort and all of these things all at once. And that's on top of whatever else they were going through before the storm hit. So making sure that there's assistance with mental health awareness, emotional support, body support. If you can get, masseuses and reflexologists and other types of healer into one space so that people your volunteers included, are receiving care in a way that allows them to continue to do this work, because disaster relief work is a marathon. It isn't a sprint. And everyone involved must be willing to fill their cup and take care of themselves and invite others to do the same. Because when people that are well, that are helping other people, they can help those people to the full extent of themselves, right? And we can't give others what we don't give ourselves. So this is just part one. I've been doing work again to bring healing and human-centered experiences into disaster relief work since 2017. I have a track record of doing a really great job each year, getting better. And I'll do a part two in how to bring healthy foods into communities and with chefs, and how to make it where it's low budget but high impact, and also aligning with people in the community to even throw, a block party where you're feeding people. There's music and there's joy, but they're receiving what they need in their communities. They don't have to come out to get it, because if they could, they would, right? So I hope that you're drinking water and taking care of yourself. I hope that you are safe. And I hope that you share this video, like and subscribe to Love and Healing Work YouTube page. And we look forward to connecting with you in the future. Love.